that we then return them to the classroom. Now, there are some that are young, they are not 60, but somehow their problem is not curable. We are still employing people. We have a Do Youth Employment Scheme. We have a Neighborhood Watch. We have all kinds of services that we have created, not out of pity, because we have those public works. Those whose cases are completely incurable, we can shift them. I am not in a hurry to terminate anyone. And for anybody who is very much aware of the labor laws and some knowledge of labor economics, he doesn't pay to retrench. Because when you retrench, you have to pay gratuities in lump sum. You have to start paying pension. And while you are paying those, you replace with someone who will be paid salary. So it will be salary plus pension. And right now we have advertised. I want to employ more graduate teachers, people who read education. And about 30,000 people have applied who read education, NCE, B.Ed. We go through them, we select those who are good, we put them on training, and then take them to the classroom. So people have a choice. I recognize the right of anyone to say, I don't want to be assessed. But you have to recognize the right of the child, not to be taught by someone whose competence has not been ascertained. And I think here, I'm determined to forge on. Because you see, around the country, in the 36 states, this disease is there. But every politician, every governor, before now even military governors, everybody shy away from it. And yet, we want to have a future that is this. We lament the declining standard of education. We send our children even to Ghana. Now I hear even Cameroon and Benin Republic. Nigerians are there going for substandard education when we can fix it at home. So in Edo, I want to show that these things can be done. And leadership is about courage. So Your Excellency, and I have enough of that to invest on this particular issue.
Your Excellency, you're expecting that some people will lose their jobs and some people will be moved to another department within government establishment to enable them to do whatever it is they're capable of doing.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, make it clear.
Nobody needs to lose his job, except if you are already 60.
They will be redeployed.
I said they will be redeployed. Now, the first thing is to try and retrain you. When we assess what your needs are, on the basis of this assessment by these experts in education, if they find that you need training, we'll organize appropriate training. They will design the training in the light of their findings.
Okay.
Now, if they find that you are not even supposed to be in the classroom at all, that is to say, your case cannot be remedied by some 1 month, 2 months, 3 months training.
Yeah.
In which case, there is no point, this vehicle is unserviceable. It doesn't make economic sense to keep repairing it. In that case, we will move you out of the education system. If we must keep you in the Ministry of Education, we have, in every school, we also have non-academic staff who are handling accounting, administrative work, sport activities, management, etc. We can move them out of teaching to do those jobs. But of course, if you are over 60 and you have changed your affidavit 10 times, you are even 75, but the record shows you are under, and the record, we are able to see through that, they will advise you that it is time to rest.
Step aside.
But as a union man, I recognize that I have a duty not just to employ hands, I have a duty to keep people who have been employed. And that is the point I've tried to make to them. I have employed so many people, since I arrived the state. From a situation where job was frozen, employment was frozen, I didn't only leave the band. We have employed people for traffic management, even people who are disabled. We find job for them. We've employed people that do youth employment scheme. We have what we call neighborhood watch. And that one I argue that, look, you don't even have to be educated to be employable. Once you can go to a beer parlor, and while you are drinking, you are listening, you notice that this guy, they are talking about how they are going to go and rob somebody. Just hit the police. Hit the police and other security forces, they will. So we have jobs even for the uneducated, but that cannot be in a classroom.
Okay.
I'm clear.
Now, comrade, quickly, before we leave education, because we spent so much time on it because of the importance of it, those who didn't do the assessment test, was there any penalty?
No, we are not done yet. We are reviewing it. I think I'm told, well, I read in the newspapers that they went to court to obtain an injunction from one Justice Adejumo of the Industrial Court. And I'm like, I know that they went to I'm aware that they went to, because we were served papers, the Ekiti division, is it Ekiti or Ondo, Akure division of the court. And they were asked to put us on notice. And suddenly I'm told one Justice Adejumo of the president of the Industrial Court issued the injunction restraining us. I'm like, the court is a creation of law. It's not meant to be a one-man estate that you use and misuse. So we are dealing with those issues. I think some of them try to hide under that. But what I'm clear about is that you have I wouldn't call it punishment. Because you see, we are in a labor market. It is either the seller of a commodity and the buyer find some mutual accommodation so that the transaction can take place. Now, if this is what I want for my school, for my children, and you are not ready to offer it, I have a right to bring someone.
Not to buy.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, we must pursue this to conclusion.
Okay. We've got to look at, if we're moving on now, we've got to look at the economy of Nigeria, but let's look at it from the perspective of what has been the complaints of some of the governors across the country, that there is dwindling amount of money being part of the federal allocation to states. What is being the situation in your state, and how is Edo State coping with that dwindling federal allocation? Are you living very well on your internally generated revenue, or is it a case of having to go to the bond market?
Well, it's a very unfortunate situation. The truth of the matter is, you know, you make budget, and awful time on budget day, Nigerians are glued to television, both at the state and the federal level, to see what is in the budget. And at the end of the day, the projected revenue is not realized. And once the projected receipts were not realized, you are not going to be able to deliver on your commitment, because one is a precondition for the other. And what it means is that across the country, governments, governors, presidents, we are not delivering on our budgets because the revenue are not realized. Now, at the federal level, they can borrow as much as they wish. Between the government and the CBN, there is a cozy relationship. They can have bonds, they don't need my approval. But when I want to get bond, then I need to go to the federal government, who is borrowing so much, to give consent for me to borrow, which in the first place I think is very unfair. But that is the procedure you've got to go through. You need endorsement of the Ministry of Finance, and you need endorsement of DMO and several other people. But they do their own without my own endorsement.
But I guess they
However,
do
the
it
real
with the
issue
endorsement
that you're raising is
yes.
whether or not there is a shortfall in revenue. There's a huge, huge drop in revenue. Throughout 2013, Edo State government, on average, received about 80, sometimes 75%, sometimes 70% of the budgeted revenue. And what makes this a bit difficult for one to understand is the fact that watching news, somehow over the past 2 years, 3 years, the price for oil has averaged $108 a barrel on average. Sometimes 109, 110, sometimes 106, so on average about 108. And this is, again, you know, I've watched some of your discussions about events in America, in China, all those forecasts that suggest oil price was going to drop. Americans have discovered alternative sources.
Sure.
I have always argued that when economists talk like that, they take a static view, as if the indicators we see will remain permanent. But the challenge of every government around the world is to do something differently, to revise that trend. And I've always argued that when our people do forecasting on the basis of, you know, everything is going to come down, they think that, you know, Europe and America or Asia run their country the way we run ours. They take measures to stimulate the economy, to return back to growth, to stimulate consumption, etc. In any event, it's now clear that oil has averaged these numbers. And the highest benchmark that we've had during the same period was about